Have you ever heard one of your buddies say the phrase, I got to run it by my wife first? I'm sure we've all heard this and probably said it. Like, usually you're with your buddies and everybody's committing to some big plan or committing to some big purchase for the future, and it involves some sort of commitment of time or money. And maybe you've heard somebody say, I got to run this by my wife first. Every single time, I guarantee you, it was met with laughter from the other guys. Guys love to give each other a hard time about this phrase. I got to run it by my wife first, because the appearance of it is, of course, it makes you feel kind of like a little kid. Like, you're not an independent grown man who can make his own decisions. Like, you've got to ask permission from your mom first. And what I've definitely come to learn is that is the lie. That is the lie. And the guy who's not running it by his wife first is not got a great marriage. I'll tell you that. And he's certainly not having great sex with his wife. And I'm going to tell you how I know that in a second. But here's what happened to me. Okay. So I love to buy guns, love all things firearms, love to go to a gun store and just look around, love to go to a gun show, bought them online, bought them in person. I love to plan and shop for what's my next firearm going to be. Is it going to be something for hunting? Is it going to be something for home defense? And the majority of guns I've ever bought in my life, sad to say, I did not include my wife in that process at all. And I've come home so many times with a new gun, and you're all excited, right? You're all excited, and then you kind of pull into the driveway and you got that moment where you got to bring it in and you're like, I hope this goes well. Maybe you sneak it in. Maybe you leave it in the truck for a day and come back and get it that night or something. If I'm imagining a lot of listeners can relate to what I'm talking about. A couple years ago, probably, I think about 3, I was at the gun store. They had the gun in stock that I had been wanting. I had my eye on this one for probably about 2 years. I had been wanting this one. So just to share with you, it was the Henry octagon barrel lever action 44 Magnum. And I thought, man, I'd been looking at this thing. They had it. Great price. Here's the moment. The stars have aligned. And I'm standing there looking at it. And I did something that I'd never done before. For the first time, I called my wife. I picked up my phone out of my pocket. I'm standing there in the gun store, and I called my wife, and I said, hey, I just kind of told her about this gun. I've been looking at it for a couple years. I'm here at the gun store, and they've got it. And my wife is really cool, and she likes guns, and she likes to shoot. She's not a big fan of me spending money on them, but she does like them. And anyway, she kind of was a little bit more positive. I was getting a more positive reaction from her than I had thought I was going to get. I kind of thought when I called her that she was going to be like, heck no, what are you thinking? You don't need another gun. I was kind of prepared for that. But she was like, tell me about it. I was like, okay. It's a lever action octagon barrel Henry 44 Magnum. And she was like, oh man, that sounds awesome. And she was like, do you have the money for that? Do we have that money set aside? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, okay, well, I'm glad you called me. Thanks for calling me. You should get it. And I'm like, I'm in uncharted territory here. I've never done anything like this. This felt like, am I being tricked? What is going on here? Is this too good to be true? Anyway, when I came home with that, It was a total different vibe from every other gun I've come home with. There was no hiding it. There was no leaving it in the truck. Man, I just walked right in, and she was like, "Is that it there in the box, you know?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And she was like, "Well, let me see it." Here's the lesson, guys. Women want to feel emotionally connected to you. Your wife wants to feel emotionally connected. You hear the phrase, at least I hear the phrase a lot, being on the same page. It feels like we're on the same page, or it feels like we're not on the same page. Maybe you've heard that one as well. But when a wife does not feel on the same page with her husband, when a wife doesn't feel emotionally connected to her husband, she's not going to want to connect physically either. Women are designed to connect emotionally and then physically. Men are the opposite. We are designed to connect physically and then emotionally. God set this up this way intentionally. One person has to go first at meeting the other's needs. And if you've been married for any amount of time, you know that your life is much better when your wife feels emotionally connected to you. Your sex life is better when your wife feels like she and you are on the same page. So the more a man can target and make it his goal to connect emotionally with his wife, the more fulfilled her needs will be, the more her needs will be met first, and then she will be in a place able to connect physically. So if you want to send your wife a very clear signal that you are not on the same page, that you are not connected emotionally, go make a large commitment of your time or your money without discussing it with her, because that sends the clear message that you are not one person, right? Marriage is all about two becoming one. And if you want her to feel like you are not one, go make a huge expenditure of your time or your money. Sign up for a weekend event, a race, make a big purchase. Do something like that without talking to her. And the message she receives is this: I'm my own independent person. I can do what I want. We are not connected. That's what she hears when you come home with that new gun or that motorcycle or that boat, or having just signed up for an ultra marathon in a couple months without even looking at her calendar. That's the message she receives. But when you take the time to say, let me check with my wife before I commit to this plan or before I make this purchase, let me check with my wife, let me talk it over with her, this makes her hear the message: we are connected. You and I are one. We're the same person. We're on the same page. I'm emotionally connected to you. That's the message she hears. And that's what you want her to hear. You want her to know that you're connected with her and that she's your priority. And I don't even need to say this. It goes without saying, who cares what your buddies around think? If you're doing well with your wife, then your life is good, right? So the phrase, let me check with my wife, this is a sign of maturity. When you hear a guy say this, this is an experienced dude. He's been around the block. He slept on the couch before. He's figured it out. He's learned that it's all about the emotional connection. The emotional connection is made, by the way, through communicating. It's through communicating with our wives. The more we talk to them, the more we call them, the more we text them, the more we talk over our plans, our hopes, our dreams, our purchases with our wife, the more connected and on the same page we are. So guys, go to the gun store, call your wife, and enjoy this free tip.